Hey, in today's video, I want to talk to you about a hierarchy of needs pyramid that I have been building for product management. And I would like to hear your feedback in the comments down below. What are the things that you think that potentially are missing and what do you like about it? The goal of a hierarchy of needs is that you want to present the data or the different stages of product management in a way that without the bottom ones, you are hardly going to achieve the ones in the top. Which means that you have to fulfill the needs in the bottom so you can go to the next layer. So let's start and look at the main layers, and then let's look at what would be the activities that are related to those layers. The bottom layer, as you can imagine, is having a vision. The second layer would be to have a strategy. The third layer would be to have a design philosophy. The fourth layer would be to execute on those previous layers. And the fifth layer would be to deliver that product, that value to your customers. When you look at the vision layer, what you are looking at is how are you going to solve a problem that your customers have. Meaning, you have to define a problem, you have to define a solution, and then you have to identify what is the value proposition, the benefits that your product is going to bring to your customers. The next layer is going to be, once you have figured out that problem, that solution that you are building, that benefit that you are going to bring to your customers, then you have your strategic areas. And here, when you talk about strategy, you are going to have different aspects that you have to consider. First of all, and probably something that you have been thinking about, are user personas. Who are going to be your users? What type of users do you define? Like you will have buyer personas, you will have influencers, you will have actual users of your product. This you have to understand, this you have to define, and that will help you focus on which ones are the segments, which ones are those user personas that you want to really tackle. In B2B situations, you also have to look into which industries you are going to be focusing on, which ones are your strategic industries, because most likely your product is going to be usable by several industries. And what you don't want is that you dilute too much your efforts. You want to focus, especially in the very beginning, you want to focus on the industries where you have the best product market fit. The next one that is going to be very important is going to be your go-to-market strategy. This is really key that you identify that you have a strategic position of how you are going to do go-to-market. And if you don't know what go-to-market is, I'll link a video up here. But basically, you are going to look into how you are promoting your product, how you are placing your product, where you are selling your product, and how you're pricing your product. And something that many times is not very much looked into when talking about strategy is the data. And I think that it's very important to set your data strategy. What is the data that you are going to follow? What are going to be the main metrics that are very important for you? Think about the R metrics. Those are the typical metrics that are defined for startups. Something that Dave McClure defined, I don't know how long time ago, but a while ago. And again, if you're interested, I have a video which I will link up here. Go take a look after you finish this one. Once you have defined these areas, then you can look into what is the design of your product, what is the design philosophy of your product. And here you're going to be having different activities that are going to help you a lot. First of all, you're going to have user research. Of course, you have defined what are your user personas. You have identified and you know who are going to be the users of your products. You want to work with them to understand better what are their needs, what are their motivations, what are their maybe challenges. Understand them better so you can actually build a product that fits their needs and fits their ways of working. And as part of the design, of course, you're going to define things like your UX and your UI that are going to set what type of experience you want to give to your customers. So for example, think about a game is quite different approach from when you're thinking to a B2C application or when you're thinking about a B2B application. B2C being business to consumer, meaning that I will build a product for basically any user in the market, and B2B meaning that I'm building a product for another business. The usability and the user experience that they are bringing usually are very different and something that you had to pay attention to. Other activities that you're going to have during a design phase, and not just from a pure design of the user interface, but the design of the product, is that you're going to have ideation workshops or ideation stages, let's call them, where you're going to look into what are the possibilities of how we are going to build a solution for our customers. During the execution phase, what you're going to do as part of product management and product development, there are going to be different things that you will do. First of all, you will do prioritization. You will have a ton of ideas coming from the design phase that you really had to figure out what to do with them. It's not easy. There are a ton of prioritization frameworks. Again, I will link a video here or a playlist because there's many ways of doing this prioritization phase. And there, basically what you want to do is that you want to find out which ones of those ideas have the highest potential for you, the biggest benefit or the most value for you and your customers, for you as a business, and which ones are going to take the least effort. Of course, you want to find the things that don't take much effort, but they bring a big amount of value to your customers. Based on this prioritization, you are going to build your roadmap. You're probably familiar with roadmaps. Basically, you are laying out what are going to be the main value propositions or the main value drivers that you're going to be building into your product during a set phase. Many times these are known as features. Some people hate the term of features, but they are still features. Features are ways to deliver value to your customers, same as products in the end. We just had to figure out better how to talk about them. That's a different story. And as part of your roadmap, you're going to be building your user stories or your feature set that is going to define what are those areas where you're going to focus in your product. What are the main capabilities that you're building in your product that actually are going to drive that value for your customers? And in the final layer, you are going to be building value for your customers. This is obviously what everybody wants when building a product. And as part of this, then you are going to have, again, yet another set of activities that are going to bring that value to your users. First of all, is that you had to deliver your product to your customers. This can be done in many different ways. I'm not going to go through all of them. Most of the software products are going to have some way of downloading or accessing the product in the cloud, and there's going to be some licensing and so on. So basically, you had to figure out how to do it, but you also had to figure out how you are going to promote it, how you are going to do your go-to-market. I know that I talked about go-to-market earlier, but there's also a very key part of the delivery process. But you had to have a strategy, as I said in the beginning. You have to have a way of doing it so it's not a surprise every time for your customers. But you want to do that per every release, per every version. Typically, it depends on the type of product. Cloud products don't tend to have as much release information or news as other type of products have. As part of delivering value, you also had to define your success KPIs or your OKRs. KPIs being the key performance indicators, OKRs being the objectives and key results. Not exactly the same thing, but they are relatively similar. And here you want to make sure that you are setting what are the goals for your product or the features that you're releasing or for the new version that you are having. OKRs, KPIs can be many things. Sometimes, and it depends on the situation or the company, it can be the number of users that are going to have for a certain features. Sometimes they might be a revenue figure, number of sales, number of new customers. It can be many things. It depends a lot on the company that you are, something that you have to set, something that you have to pay attention. Because this is a way for you to measure that when you are building a new feature, actually is bringing value to the customers. This is what you want to do with your KPIs. This is what you want to do with your OKRs. And of course, bringing value to the customers, part of it, especially if you're in a for-profit business, is that you are building a successful business. And then you have to build your feedback loop. And usually your feedback loop involves your users. But you have to be able to get that feedback, to get that understanding. Feedback can be done in many ways. It can be data. It can be in the form of interviews, in the form of surveys, in the form of posts or likes, for example, for a video. And from that feedback, you are taking that into account. Oh, okay, this feature, for example, was released. It was moderately successful, but it's not successful as it should have been. What can I do to improve it? And from there, build, in a way, the feedback loop that is going to be retrofitted into your process. And then when you are building new problems or finding new problems, building new solutions, basically creating new features or modifying existing features, you are going to get that feedback and loop it and give it back to the beginning of the process and start building again. So as I say, this hierarchy of needs is not intended to be a process description. It doesn't mean that all these stages had to follow one after another. It doesn't have to be as rigid. You want to be agile, you want to iterate, you want to build feedback loops, you want to make sure that you are being able to act, to adapt, to learn, and to be creating those as good solutions as you can for your customers. But what this pyramid of needs is giving you is a framework to understand that without a vision, I'm going to have very little chances of bringing value to my customers. Without a proper strategy, although I'm going to be able to execute, my execution is going to be, let's say, limited or harm or not as good as it could have been as if I'm giving a clear strategy and focus to the teams. Because if there's no focus, anything becomes important, and sometimes you end up prioritizing just because of somebody shouting. That's not how you should work. Don't follow just or things because somebody's shouting loud. Make sure that you understand why, and even if they're shouting, they might be right. So I'm not saying that because they're shouting that you should not pay attention, but you have to be able to reason and to understand that, yes, this is bringing value. Yes, this is the area that is actually bringing or getting us closer to the goals that we have as a company. So what do you think? What do you think about this framework? I'm happy to hear feedback, please, constructive if possible. And how do you actually prioritize? What are the layers that you think that are important? I would like to hear your feedback, and I could tweak it if needed. If I see that there are aspects that I might be missing or aspects that I might have not maybe done in the best way as they could have been done. So happy to hear about that. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel. I love to talk about tech products and I create videos on a weekly basis. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.